Welcome back to Laugh Tracks, the podcast where we laugh at life and each other. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Corie. Tonight we're diving into something everyone does but rarely talks about, pillow talk.
It's the scarce time when the lights are low and the blankets are warm and the dog is taking up 90% of the bed.
Of course. And one of us is hogging the blankets. Spoiler, it's me.
Yeah, and one of us is sleep talking about who knows what. Spoiler, also you.
Yeah. Hey, it's a team effort. So let's talk about the funny, sweet, and awkward world of pillow talk and why it's so important.
But first, let's set the stage. Picture this. It's the end of the day. You're tired. The house is really quiet. And you're laying in bed. But instead of going straight to sleep, you start talking. It's not always serious. And it's not always logical. But somehow those conversations feel different, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, pillow talk is like a mix of therapy, comedy hour, and brainstorming session for all the things you'll never actually do.
For us, it's when we let our guard down. It's when I hear your wild ideas about what color to paint the kitchen.
Again? And it's when I find out about your secret plans to build the ultimate backyard fire pit.
Hey, that fire pit is going to happen one day. But seriously, pillow talk is underrated. It's when couples can connect in ways that just don't happen during the chaos of the day.
Totally. And it's not just couples either. Pillow talk can be with your kids, your roommates, or even your dang on dog. Though, in Biscuit's case, it's more like pillow snoring.
We should call it what it is. Pillow snoring and blanket hogging.
Fine. But that's the magic of it, right? It's unfiltered, it's intimate, and it's often hilarious. Like the time you mumbled about needing more mulch in your sleep.
Okay, let's not act like I'm the only one with funny sleep habits. What about the time you woke up convinced we had a meeting with someone named Captain Crunch?
Listen, Captain Crunch sounded important in my dream, okay? But this is what makes pillow talk fun. It's real, it's raw, and it's uniquely yours.
And we want to dive into all that today. The good, the bad, the weird, and the downright embarrassing moments that make pillow talk a thing in every household.
Plus, we've got good listener stories, some tips to make pillow talk more meaningful, and of course, a few laughs along the way.
So grab your blankets, fluff your pillows, and let's get into it. Alright, here's a random interesting fact for you. You're not allowed to take mercury onto a commercial passenger plane as it can damage the aluminum the plane is made out of.
Interesting. Here's another one. For less than the cost of a Ferrari, you can buy a renovated Boeing 737.
Alright, let's kick things off with the funny stuff. Pillow talk isn't always sweet. Sometimes it's downright ridiculous. Corie, is that a snack I hear?
No?
Should we start with your midnight snack habits?
Oh, come on. Why do we have to start with me?
Because you're the star of the show. Remember the granola bar incident?
Ugh, fine. So sometimes I get up for a snack, but I'm half asleep. And I guess I've been known to bring snacks back to bed. One time I woke up with a granola bar under my pillow.
Correction, I found the granola bar.
Whatever.
I was just trying to fluff your pillow and ended up crunching it.
Okay, but let's not forget your sleep talking. Like the time you said, we need more mulch. What was that about?
I don't know. My subconscious must have been landscaping. But you're not off the hook yet. What about your Captain Crunch dream?
Oh no. I'll never live in that one down. I woke up panicked, convinced we had a meeting with Captain Crunch, and you're so confused.
Captain Crunch? Confused? I was concerned. I thought you were serious for a second.
Hey, dreams are weird, okay? But this is why pillow talk is so funny. It's unfiltered. You never know what's going to come out.
Exactly. Like when Biscuit decided to insert himself into the conversation by snoring louder than a chainsaw. Scratch that. Chainsaw.
Or when he's stealing all the space in the bed. Sometimes I wonder if we're just guests in his bed,
Oh, we definitely are. But that's part of what makes bedtime in our household an adventure.
Listeners, we know we are not alone in this. Everyone has those weird, funny moments during pillow talk. It's part of the charm.
Absolutely. And that's why we're going to start with a listener story for the night.
Okay, this one comes from Amy. She wrote in about a hilarious moment she shared with her life partner, Derek. So picture this. Amy and Derek were lying in bed, winding down for the night, when Derek suddenly sat up, pointed to the corner of the room, and yelled, "The squirrel is back!"
Wait, he said the squirrel?
Yeah. Amy says she was half asleep and thought maybe there really was a squirrel in the room. Turns out Derek was dreaming about some epic battle with a squirrel that had stolen one of his toys he hides in the closet.
Poor guy. Was just trying to protect his little toys.
Amy said she laughed so hard she cried. But now every time they hear a noise at night, she jokes, "It's the squirrel." And poor Derek, he has to have his son Theo, who's only 4, check to make sure the squirrel isn't even in the room.
That's the kind of stories that make Pillow Talk unforgettable. Amy, thank you for sharing. And to Derek, good luck with that squirrel.
If anyone else has a funny or weird Pillow Talk story, keep them coming. We'll read more later in the show.
This is a fun fact for Sheldon Cooper. The longest possible uninterrupted train ride in the world is over 10,000 miles, or 17,000 kilometers long, which goes from Vietnam to
Portugal.
Wow! Okay, another fact. In 2011, archaeologists discovered the skeletal remains of a Roman couple who had been holding hands for over 1,500 years. Aww.
Alright, we want to dive into something that's been on our minds lately. How do you keep the spark alive in a long-term relationship? It's one of those things that can sometimes feel easy, but other times it takes a little more effort.
Yeah, for sure. It's not always smooth sailing, but when you really prioritize each other, it makes a huge difference. I think for us, it's about staying connected no matter how busy things get. And there are nights when we're both so tired, but just making time for each other, even if it's just a few minutes, really helps.
Right. Sometimes it's not even about grand gestures. I mean, those are great, but I think it's the little things that matter the most. Like, remember last week when I surprised you with your favorite snack after a rough day? That's not some big gesture, but I think it really shows I'm thinking about you.
Exactly, it really does. It's those small, thoughtful moments that make me feel loved and appreciated. Even just like sending a text in the middle of the day to check in. And I think it's important to still date each other even after all these years.
I love that. Dating each other. We've definitely made it a point to keep doing that. Like when we go out for dinner, just the two of us, or when we plan something spontaneous. Those moments remind us of how we were when we first met. I think that's what keeps the spark alive.
Yeah, and it's also about remembering why we started this journey together in the first place. Sure, we've changed over the years, but the core of what brought us together hasn't changed. That's something we need to remind ourselves, especially when life gets in the way.
That's true. And when life does get crazy, it's easy to let everything else slide. But we've always made it an effort to keep the communication strong. Even if it's just a 10-minute conversation at the end of the day, it's about staying engaged and making sure we're still on the same page.
Totally, and I think there's something special about those quiet moments too, just being in each other's company, not necessarily doing anything, but being present, like how we'll sit together on the couch after Ashlyn's in bed and just watch a movie or talk about our day. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant to be meaningful.
I couldn't agree more. And one thing that's been important for us is always supporting each other's personal growth. I love that we have our own hobbies, our own goals, but at the same time we encourage each other to grow and to achieve those things. I think that's such a big part of keeping the spark alive. Being individuals while still being a team.
Yes, and I love that. We've always had each other's backs. It's not just about being in love, it's about being partners in everything. And that doesn't always come easy, but it's definitely worth it.
It is. And no matter what happens, I know we'll always find a way to reconnect. Because when you're committed to each other, even the hardest moments can bring you closer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the foundation for everything. Trust, respect, and love. When you have those, the spark doesn't just fade away, it continues to grow.
And we've had a lot of growth. So speaking of growth and connection, we've got a question from a listener who wants to know how to reconnect after life gets in the way. It's a topic a lot of people can relate to, so don't go anywhere. So this one you're going to have to do your own research on, but did you know that all the characters in Toy Story only blink one eye at a time? Now you're going to rewatch all the movies.
Guess what you're doing this weekend?
Not me.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. One more. Ryan Gosling was casted for the role of Noah in the movie The Notebook because the director wanted someone not handsome.
Listener story coming up, and it ties right into what we've been talking about. This one's from Lisa, who reached out to us with a pretty relatable situation.
I'm intrigued. What's going on with Lisa?
Well, Lisa says that she and her partner have been feeling a little disconnected lately. They've been together for 8 years, and like so many couples, life just gets really hectic. They both have demanding jobs, plus kids, and it feels like their time together has been shrinking. Lisa said they haven't had a date night in months, and that it's been hard to find moments to reconnect.
Oh, I can totally get that. Life can get so overwhelming, and it's easy to put the relationship on the back burner. So, what's Lisa asking?
Okay, so what she's wondering is how they can get back to the connection they had when things were easier. She wants to know how to reignite the spark when it feels like life keeps getting in the way.
That's a really good question. I think a lot of couples can relate to that feeling. Sometimes it's hard to remember that the small moments matter just as much as the big ones.
Exactly. I think for Lisa, it could be as simple as carving out a small amount of time each day, even about 15 minutes to reconnect. Whether it's a walk, a quick chat over coffee, or even just a text during the day to let your partner know you're thinking about them. And of course, making date nights a priority again. No matter how small they are, it doesn't have to be fancy, just intentional.
Right? And I think it's also about remembering the little things that made you fall for each other in the first place. Sometimes just bringing back a little bit of humor or playful banter can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. And it's about being patient with each other, too. Life is always changing, and sometimes we have to adjust our expectation. Reconnecting doesn't happen overnight, but if you're both putting in the effort, that's what matters.
First of all, exactly, Lisa. We're rooting for you. Just keep the communication open and don't forget to make time for each other, even when it feels like everything else is demanding your attention. Second of all, what was so funny?
I don't know. But that's some solid advice.
Thanks.
And hey, if any of you listeners out there have been in a similar situation, let us know how you reconnect or what worked for you. We'd love to hear your stories.
And don't forget, Lisa, you can always take 10 to 15 minutes every night and have some pillow talk. Just remember to take those late night moments when everything feels more relaxed and you're just connecting with each other.
Exactly. And it's the small conversations that can turn into something really meaningful. You know, like when we started talking about our dream vacation and it gets all exciting about the future.
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of talks just make you feel connected in such a different way.
Totally. Absolutely. And it's amazing how even after all these years, there's always something new for us to talk about and learn about each other. You'd think we'd run out of things to say, but there's always something else that pops up.
Yes, I love that. So, this next part, we have a funny story coming in from a listener about their pillow talk. So this one's from Daniel. And it's actually a little funny about how his pillow talk went a little off track.
Oh no, what happened? You must tell me.
So Daniel says that after a long day, he and his partner were laying in bed, just relaxing, when they started talking about how they were going to split their chores around the house. And somehow the conversation turned into a full debate about whether or not they should get a second pillow for the couch.
Wait, a second pillow? I mean, I guess if you're planning on spending a lot of time on the couch, why not?
Exactly. But here's the funny part.
Okay.
Daniel said the debate went on for nearly an hour, and neither of them were willing to back down. It was more like they were in the middle of a full-blown negotiation over the pillow situation.
That's hilarious. I can just picture it. Two people getting super serious about a dang on pillow. But hey, sometimes the weirdest conversations end up being the most fun.
For sure. And it just goes to show that pillow talk can turn into anything. It doesn't have to be deep or serious. Sometimes it's just about sharing a laugh and being silly together.
Exactly. It's the fun moments that make the connection so strong. So, Daniel, thanks for sharing. That's a hilarious story. I think everyone can relate to those random late night discussions that just spiral into something completely unexpected.
I think we've all had those moments, and that's the beauty of pillow talk. It's a space where anything can happen, and that's what makes it special. Whether it's a silly debate over pillows or sharing your dreams for the future, it's all about connecting.
That's the magic of it. And before we wrap up, we want to hear more from your pillow talk stories. So feel free to send them in, and we might feature yours in an upcoming episode.
Alright, so as we start to wrap up today's episode, we want to share a story about how pillow talk can sometimes be downright hilarious. It's funny how sometimes as simple as lying in bed, talking can turn into a full comedy show.
Totally. It's those moments that remind you how silly and sweet pillow talk can be. Like, I remember this one night when we were just lying there laughing about the random things that pop into our heads. It's like the more tired you get, the funnier things become.
Exactly. And it's not just us. We got a hilarious story from Shawn and Ruthann. So Shawn told us that one night they were having one of their typical pillow talk sessions when they ended up talking about their friend Robert.
Robert? Oh no, what happened?
Well, apparently, Robert was telling them about this crazy dream he had. He said he was running through a field of giant marshmallows, but every time he tried to grab one, it would bounce away. So Shawn and Ruthann were cracking up just imagining this marshmallow field, and it got even funnier when they said, imagining Robert's marshmallow chase with his arms frailing over the place.
That is too good. I could just picture Robert running in slow motion through a field of bouncing marshmallows. That's pillow talk at its finest. Silly, unexpected, and totally hilarious.
Right? And they said the more they talk about it, the funnier it got. By the end of the conversation, they were laughing so hard that Ruthann nearly fell off the bed, and all of this started from a simple pillow talk moment.
See, that's exactly what we're talking about. Pillow talk can take you to some pretty wild places, whether it's debating pillows, literally, talking about, that stuff, or talking about dreams, or just sharing random thoughts. It's those moments that we really bring us closer together and make us laugh at the same time.
Exactly. So a big thank you to Shawn and Ruthann for this hilarious story, and to Robert. Well played, buddy. It's the silly stuff like that, I think, that makes pillow talk so special.
Yes, we love hearing your stories, so please keep them coming. Whether they're funny, heartwarming, or just plain old weird, we want to know what your pillow talk looks like at its finest.
And with that, we're going to sign off today's episode. Thanks for tuning in to Laugh Track. We'll be back next week with more funny stories and more pillow talk moments.
Until then, keep laughing and keep connecting. Those little moments are what make life truly special. Good morning, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Because you can't get any further away before you start coming back. The early bird gathers no moss, and the rolling stone catches the worm.
True story. Cut that.
And when we want to dive into all that today. Cut that. Corie, is that a snack I hear?
Oh, wait, it is. I can tell that a mile away.
I guess I've been known to snack back to bed. Cut that. Oh no, I'm never living that one down. Cut that.
Oh, definitely. Cut that. It's one of those things that can make... Cut that. Corie, is that a snack?
You're dang right it is.
Those moments remind us of how we are when we first met. Cut that.
When you have those, the spark, scratch that.
So make sure you have a great day. You're supposed to say, and have a great morning or something.
And an even better afternoon.